Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us here at Digital Drafting Systems, DDS CAD, for the AutoCAD Civil 3D and FDOT Tips and Tricks webinar. Before we dive in some little logistics, the lines are all muted so that everybody can hear well. And of course, if you have any questions at all, please, we welcome the questions. Write them down on the chat box and we will answer them either at the end or as we go along, depending on the content of the question. All right, without any more delays, it's my pleasure to introduce Seth, our infrastructure specialist. Some of you are already familiar with him. Seth, take it away.
Okay, thank you very much, Raquel. Welcome everybody to the webinar. So I figured I would just kind of go, before the end of the year, let's just do a tips and tricks kind of session, and we'll kind of focus mostly on using, for the most part, I'm going to be in the FDOT State Kit for the entire presentation. So I wanted to kind of heavily focus on using just regular Civil 3D stuff, kind of, so that it can apply to just regular Civil 3D, or leveraging the FDOT State Kit. Of course, they provide a lot of really good sub assemblies and some good modeling tools and all that kind of stuff. So we'll talk about reference templates. And I think I vaguely remember I may have talked about this before, but I am just finding a lot of people still not leveraging this functionality. And I just want to point it out again so that you can, I think, implement this at your companies. We'll talk about link codes to the rescue, labeling cross sections without exploding them. When a section view is not a section view. We'll go over some of the FDOT sub assemblies and modeling. We'll talk about how to model, some little tips how to model near a pond, especially if you want that pond to tie directly into your core model. Let's say your base of the pond is right off your shoulder, and it's not deep enough for you to require a fence or anything like that. And then I'll try and focus on some of the, just to discuss the FDOT quantity tools, and that basically if you're used to, or if you've seen quantities done in MicroStation, basically in Civil 3D now we have the full gamut of tools. In fact, I just completed a project where I actually did this completely in Civil 3D. Found a couple little bugs that I submitted to the DOT, and they're going to fix them with the next release. So for the most part, it was really, it didn't take me that long, and I automated all my summary sheets, summary quantity sheets in Civil 3D. So that's now completely an option. All right. Whereas before we were missing some tools like Link Data Manager and that type of stuff that kind of aided you doing that in MicroStation. So let's just dive right in. All right, so I wanted to talk about reference templates, and again, this functionality has been around since about 2016, but to this day I still don't. I still see many companies just not leveraging it, and I don't know what the hesitation is, because it's just one of the best features of Civil 3D and just regular AutoCAD, because what the Civil team has done, in my opinion, actually, and this is based upon, I'm on the beta team for Civil 3D as well, and a lot of the people when they started implementing this, we kept saying, that's great that you want to actually allow us to reference styles from one master template, but wouldn't it be great if you could do that with CAD? Because other CAD software like MicroStation actually does this with something called DGN libraries. So basically, imagine having one file that is your master template, and in that master template, you point every single drawing at your company to that master template. By doing so, this automates your CAD standards, so that basically, as you know, if you need to add a layer, a block, a line style or line type, or a Civil 3D style, or you change a layer's properties or anything, it updates in thousands, all the drawings linked to that reference template. So again, I see no reason why you would not want to use this, but let me just kind of go over the process. Again, it's really straightforward. So the first thing I'll start with a totally blank DOT drawing. So when you start FDOT workspace, you basically come into this file here. It says, hey, this file should not be used for FDOT work. Use the create file application to create QC compliant files. That's basically following the DOT standard naming convention, which is fine if you're using the DOT State Kit. But just to give you an example of this, so if I look at this drawing here, we look at the styles, you'll see I've got some styles in this drawing, but it does not contain too many styles. In fact, you always typically have the standard one, because they expect you to use the create file utility. Now, I'm not saying you can't combine the create file utility with this functionality. Basically, what you want to do is you want to just set up a template so that when you do file new, whether it's through the create file utility or just at your company, it's already referencing a standard template, okay? And this is the cool thing about this, is that you can actually layer in templates. In other words, if let's say you are using the DOT standards, but you also have some company-specific styles that you still like to do for your projects, you can layer them in. And what I mean by layer them in is you can attach both. So I'll just go ahead and just do a file new here. And I already have a reference template kind of defined. Where basically it's leveraging this functionality. All right, and I'll just show you what it's actually going to do. So I'll just navigate to this file here, and here. So in this folder here, I've got this what I call this FDOT master. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'll just create a new file based upon it, and I'll show you what's happening. So I am picking this file. This file here think of it as completely empty. It does not contain layers, styles, or anything. Just kind of some just basic settings. Because what this file is actually doing is it's pointing to two additional files that I am leveraging with reference templates, and I'll show you what I mean. So I hit File New. Again, this file is pretty much empty, but if I go to the Manage tab on the ribbon, Styles panel, and click on Reference here, you will see that I am referencing two additional templates. One, which is my default kind of company standards that I want to follow, but I'm also having the FDOT master templates in there as well. So I basically copy this FDOT master to my server. So every version, yes, you will have to kind of do that, but that's fine. It's not a big deal. And for the most part, not many things change in the DOT styles. But if we kind of click on this little drop down here, you'll notice you do have the ability to basically tell Civil 3D what it is that you want to actually use or leverage as master settings / templates or / AutoCAD kind of resources. So if you look here, of course, you have styles, right? You have settings. Now it leverages drawing settings and feature settings. All right. And then even, again, the really great thing is that it's not just Civil 3D stuff. It is AutoCAD stuff. So again, even if you just use it for AutoCAD stuff, that in itself is a huge time saver. How many times have you changed the layer properties in one file in the project, and you said, hey, you know what? I got to go change it now for everyone, or I changed my template, but then it only updates in the template, not any other files that were used when I did File New in general. This actually leverages and references this file so that if I open up the FDOT master or my file, this NFPS roadway file, and I change a layer property or I add a layer, it actually automatically will proliferate through all the drawings that are pointing to that file. And that is just a huge advantage. That's just a great functionality in that it's automating, basically all your CAD standards, right? So you can automate all that without having to kind of, copy layers in through Design Center or whatever. The other thing that you can do with just the other AutoCAD resources are, so far at least, is blocks, text styles, and line types. And yes, we've told them we want dimension styles, multi-leader styles, table styles, you name it. We want all of the AutoCAD resources that you would imagine having for, in your company to be automated using this functionality. Again, it's really simple. It's not hard to set up, and it just automates all your standardization that you would have at your company. And again, if you want to leverage FDOT, that's great. But sometimes you want to change for whatever reason, or you want to add or edit a style. The DOT styles are pretty good, but sometimes they can use a little finessing. And so you can go in there and kind of, what I actually do is I actually just will go into my own file here and change that one, because that way I'm not affecting FDOT master. If this one has the same name, if this one has the same name as this one, because this one is first in the list, this one wins. So I will override that style there. That's how this works. You can see here I can change the order that these templates are used based upon the arrows right here. Okay. Again, really great functionality. It's not hard to set up. So again, you just create a brand new file that's totally blank, and then you attach the reference templates from the location you want. And then when you do File New, you pick that blank file that's pointing to the reference template. Okay. Just a little kind of one down thing about it. It doesn't leverage relative pathing. So this path that you type in, O:/blank flow, whatever it is hard coded. So it's a full path memory, which is, we've told them about it. They're probably going to work on relative pathing. That way, if you move this around, let's say you copy it to some other standard location, it'll basically just use relative pathing. But for now, it's hard coded, okay? So again, that's reference templates. Let me go ahead and just close this file here. Oh, and actually, before I do that, one thing to just mention, the way that you know of a file or an object within Civil 3D is being used or coming from a reference template is if you expand the categories here, you'll notice this little, and I know it's kind of weird, it's a paperclip. That's what this icon is here. But basically, it's telling you that's coming from a reference template. And if I hover, as you can see here, it's telling you the style or the file that it's actually coming from. Okay, so you can kind of see that. Now, if you go to try and edit this, you'll see that you can't open it up, and I can start toggling all these things on. Notice how the apply button is not active. Okay, if I hit OK though, what will happen is, so again, here's the other, it's a really great functionality. Yes, it locks in the user, but it does give some flexibility. Let's say you're in some kind of crunch time to get a project done, and you just got to edit this style or make a copy or whatever you want to do, and just edit it. You can still do that. There are 3 options. You can cancel, make a local copy with a unique name, or apply it just for this drawing session only. The nice thing about the make a local copy with unique name, any objects using this style right now will then use the new style, which will only be in this drawing. So that, again, that's a downside in some way because then you do lose that link to your standardization, but they have to give the user some flexibility if you kind of just really needed to kind of get the job done and again, get something plotted the way that you want it to, okay? I'll just cancel out of that, all right? Again, if you change anything in those reference templates, every drawing pointing to those reference templates will update automatically. Now, one more thing just to point out, it does not, which I think they're going to work on this as well. So the layers are, like I said, coming from the reference template. But that said, there's no additional columns here, kind of like you have in MicroStation, that actually allow you to see exactly where this is actually coming from. Okay, so that's the only downside. It'd be nice if it said this layer is coming from this file, this layer is coming from this file, etc. But it doesn't do that. It does with the blocks, believe it or not. So if you actually go to insert a block, so if I go to I'll just go to the block editor command to kind of show this here, you will see right over here, this is telling you where these blocks are coming from. So that's actually kind of nice. They figured that out in the description, but for layers, it's still not there yet. But again, you still have the functionality of it automatically coming from the file, okay? Let me close out of that. All right, link codes to the rescue. And I'm going to kind of combine link codes and labeling cross-sections in the same kind of tip here, okay? One of the things when it comes to, cutting cross-sections in Civil 3D, so again, hopefully you guys are aware of modeling, quarter modeling, all that kind of stuff. Let me just kind of show you this project here. If you haven't seen this project before, I may have shown it in a previous webinar. But basically, this is a project. It's actually already done. It's already completed in construction. This is a realignment of a road. It's snaking through some wetlands here. And basically, there's a school complex up here, and we have to widen the road. And the original road actually comes this way. We're basically going through here. This is a DOT road, so we have to widen the road, put an additional lane, and we were going to mill the road, of course, to redo the striping, right? So we just mill paved 2 inches, and we have 2 or 3 inches, and we basically have to put down a shoulder and all that kind of stuff, and widen the shoulder and upgrade the shoulder because the shoulder, of course, is is now pavement and widened. So if you look here, I'm combining a bunch of different sub-assemblies, and I'm going to get into that to show you some little tips that I've done and learned doing this kind of functionality. Again, it's all one model. And basically, what I want to show you was when you cut cross sections, some of the little kind of hiccups that you can encounter, and just some little tips that you can kind of do to kind of automate it so that you don't have to explode your cross section. So I've seen many users do that where they explode the cross section, and then of course you lose all your intelligence, and you don't want to be doing that, right? Because that defeats the whole purpose of what you want to do. So basically, what I want to point out is first off, is using your link codes to automate many different things. And a lot of people don't kind of realize how, and it's not just link codes, it's point codes and so on. So let me go ahead and go to my my assembly to see exactly, kind of the different areas of where I have modeling going on here. All right, so if I look at my full typical section here, and some of these I'm not even using. I was going through some different modeling processes, but I basically kind of combined a bunch of them. But what I want to show you is just kind of just using some of the standard generic sub-assemblies and how you can automate many different things, because the goal is to just plot your cross sections and just kind of be ready to plot. Your cross sections, you have to think of them as a byproduct of the model. So as long as you're modeling everything the way it's supposed to be, your cross sections will just update and label the way that you want them to be labeled. So one of the things to kind of mention is that, if I'm using like a generic link width and slope, or this one here is a link slope to elevation, you can go in and change whatever it is that you want this to be, whether it's a point code, a link code, or whatever, okay? So if I want to label it and I want to automate that labeling to do something, I can do basically, whatever it is that I want to label, so that it will, automatically label it when the code that's in the code set style, I'm going to show you that in a second, is present. So if I wanted this to be labeled in with a specific code, I could call this, let's say, my daylight. And just codes are case sensitive. So whatever it is that you type in here, it has to be exactly the capital M and the capital D. You can't have spaces either, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure you can't have spaces. So you always want to make sure if you're going to have like kind of something that's two, just capitalize it, okay? And so that's what I'm kind of doing here. And then basically within my code set style that would have to be used, I would have to make sure that I had a code set or a code for the point that would say my daylight or whatever, okay? So again, you could automate this so that when you go to, go into your cross section, and let's say you do want to label, this bottom here or the whatever, it's going to be automated completely, because as you can see here, this is part of the corridor model, right, or the code set style basically. So that right there is actually labeling automatically. That's labeling automatically, and so on and so forth. And these are two, okay? Some of the DOT code set styles are pretty good, and sometimes, I'm pretty sure that this bottom does not get labeled, so I basically would add that to myself here, okay? So the way that you do that is you will have to modify, the DOT code set style, and the code set styles are in the settings tab here, okay? General category, multi-purpose styles, and here we have the code set styles. And what you'll see that I have here is I've kind of combined, I've taken one. I kind of started with FDOT cross-section, and I've basically, edited them, because depending on what it is I'm trying to automate and label within my cross-section or a specific section view, I can actually change it to that specifically or completely override it, whatever I want to do. And that's what I'm trying to show you here, is that I've seen this happen many times. People will literally explode their cross sections and then just start, and it might be only one or two that they have to edit, but you don't have to explode anything. You can use code set styles and the codes themselves to kind of automate whatever it is that you want to do. So again, if I look at basically, like for instance, let's say I wanted to actually, label something specifically. In other words, let me find a cross section here where something's happening that I don't want to have, like right here, for instance, okay? Let me actually clean this up a little bit, because I've already done this edit, but let me get rid of these here. Okay, so if you look here, what I've got going on is, we're going through an intersection of some sort, okay? And you'll see here in a second, once my Filter-D kind of catches up with me here, is that it's basically, you can kind of see on the right side here, it's actually labeling, a bunch of additional links. And the reason it's labeling all those links is because this is going through the, it's basically finding all the links across that sample line, okay? So, and in fact, here's a little tip here. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but in 2000, I think it was 18, maybe it's 19, where they added this ability. If I select this section view, right-click, zoom to sample line, and you can literally see exactly where this is cutting across. You can see it's right my driveway here. And of course, vice versa, if I go ahead and select this sample line, I can right-click and zoom to section view. And it puts them right in that section view, which again, is just really, really nice, right? But anyway, so as you can see here, I've got some additional labeling, and what's going on, there's really no way to prevent this, because it's finding every link where that crosses with the sample line. Of course, I'm not exactly perpendicular, so it's finding all those. So again, I've had many users, they explode this, and they kind of redraw it, make it look pretty, and put some whatever they want. You don't have to do that. What you can do is you can copy the default out of the box, or not out of the box, but default State Kit code set styles, and you can modify them. And what I have here is I've already created one here called no labels. And all that does is, you know, a lot of people kind of get confused with what the components and what do I have to change. Well, there's only 3 types of codes in a corridor model, okay, or a sub-assembly or whatever: link, point, and shape codes. So what is it that you want to label, or what is it that you want to display? That's all you have to know. And so basically, you know, if I look at this right here, I want to turn the labels of my links off. So what I have to do is I copied the default FDOT cross-section code set style. I went to the link category, and I went to the label style column, and you can do this all at once. I can just simply click on this here, and I'll hold the shift key down, grab the bottom there, and I would just go to, I've already done it, you can see here, but basically I've made all my label styles set to none. All right, that's all I've done. Now, how do I set it up so that only this section view will use that code set style? All you do is you simply select the corridor section here, that's what it's called, go to your properties palette, and you'll notice that you can change the code set style to whatever it is that you want it to be. So I'll just simply pick on FDOT cross-section no labels. All the labels disappear. I'm basically halfway there. Now all I need to do is actually label them to what they need to be. Now, as you can see here, I already kind of did one. Another little tip here I want to show you, because I really don't like this. You'll see here, basically I've got my, I already have a label in there. I'm going to delete it in a second just to show you how to start from scratch. But this little information icon, what it's telling you is that you are overriding the default label style. I can't stand these. These will appear all over the place, and if you do a zoom extend, sometimes they're literally like taking up your entire drawing, because it's a resolution dependent type thing. So if I just do a regen here, you'll see it gets smaller, okay, because it's basically a percentage of the screen as to how it actually appears, okay. So how do you turn that off? You right click in space, go to options here, and then you go to the AEC editor tab. Right over here is where this is, okay? So it's actually at the display solution tip when drafting, okay? So what that little tip is saying, hey, you're overriding. I don't care. I don't like it on, so I always just kind of shut it off. I wanted to show you that. I've seen many users complain about that, and it's a really simple kind of just thing. And basically what that does is it just shuts off any of that happening, okay? All right, so let me just go ahead and delete this here, because I want to show you what you would do next. So in this one section view that I've turned those off, okay, what I would do is simply select it now, select the section view. Again, you get the contextual ribbon, and I'm not going to worry about initially the style that it uses, because I can just change it afterwards. I'll click on my add view labels, and these are not offset elevation labels, these are grade labels. And order does matter how you pick. So I'm just going to go in the order that I would expect to be able to go. And I'll go here, and then I'll go here. Maybe, actually, I probably could have gone down to there, but we'll just kind of go back to the backdrop here, or to the edge of the driveway. And I'll just press escape here, and I'll go ahead and just simply select this one here, and I'll kind of go down to the grade break, which is that right there. And I would basically extend that one down to there. You get the idea. Now, and then for the left side, I would do the same thing. Okay? In fact, I can just copy those actually, but I'll just do it this way. I'll just say grade, and I'll just do my lane here, and I'll go to the shoulder, and then go over here, and go to the not so edge travel away, and I'll even do the back slope. Okay, ignore the fact that there's another surface in there. That's just something else that's going on here. Okay, so I've got these. Now, I'm not going to really worry. Again, they're all, you know, some are right, some are wrong. It's fine, because what I can do is I already actually have some predefined. Again, I copied the DOT out of the box, and I just basically figured out how I needed to label this with the label styles. And these are the section view labels. And if you look here, I've got some grade right. I just click on that one, and now it's in the right style and the right everything. Like I have an extra one there, not a big deal. I would just delete it. And I even have one for the left side here. So I'll just pick this one here, change these to grade left. Now those look good. And these are different, right? So these are rise over run type ones. So I'll just go over here, and I think these are part of the default one. I'll just pick FDOT Sub left, and I am done. All right. And so just like that, within a few seconds, I have got rid of the other stuff without exploding a thing. That's the other really great thing that I've done. I have not exploded anything. Now, yes, if your model changes, for sure, you will have to just re-grip edit these. You know, it's not a huge deal. Just grip edit these to the new location of the corridor model. but you're basically keeping at least the model up to date. One of the other tips I like to show people, there are many times, like if you're in a mitered end section little area, you want to actually kind of turn off and on different parts of your, actually that's not a good example here. It would be, I would normally have a miter here and that would do something different. So, but what I would basically be doing is I probably have the pipe would come out here and I would basically project my own kind of grade. It might be 1 to 6 or 1 to 7 or whatever, because it's going to the top of the miter. So again, many users, they explode their cross section. No need to do that. All I will do is I can actually make a whole new code set style, which I have right here. I copied the, again, the FDOT one, and then I basically just go in here and I change all of my daylight to be turned to no display. That way, what I can then do is I'll just go ahead and select the quarter section here, same exact thing, right? And I'll just set this to no daylight link. And that should be turning them off. Let me pick the wrong one here. Let me just do a region real quick. All right, let's try that again. Let's make sure I got the right one. So we'll pick this, no daylight link. No daylight only. Okay. So this link must be a little different than what I set up before. But there's a way to do it. Let me just show you a little tip, because I want to keep going along here. One of the things I get a lot of people ask too is, how do I know what's in this corridor section, like what the codes actually are? So select the corridor section, right-click in space, and go to Edit Corridor Section Properties. And in the Codes tab, you will see exactly what you have in here. If I look here, I've got daylight fill, slope link, no plot, no display. So the only other one it might be is it might be my force slope that I would have to change. So let's just go through this exercise real quick. So what I'll do is I will add a new link code called force slope, set it to no display, and let's see if that fixes this. So we'll do for slope, no display none, and then hit OK. So I'm in the no daylight link. There we go. So you can see it starts to disappear. So that's just another link I would have to figure out what it is, okay? So what you would basically do is once you figured out what those are, right, you would just, the links would all be off, and then all you have to do is simply select your section view, and again, do the same exact thing. But this time, let's imagine that my, top of my miter is going to be like right over there. So I'll just go ahead and snap over here and snap there, and then there's my grade, and I just basically go in here and I select it, and I would set it to a new style that would be, which I think I have done here, slope left with line. So in this case, I actually do want to show the line because I don't have a line showing. Pretend this is going to be gone, right? So this would just go to the top of my miters, and it would just show a slope of 1 to 5 tying into the top of the miters. But again, the model integrity is still there. You're just turning on and off a different code. And yes, it'll take you a little bit of time to set it up. The great thing is this. Once you figure out the names of the codes that you want to turn on and off, you put this in your what? In your reference template, and guess what? Every single drawing in your company will automatically now see all those updates, and you can then just have access to those styles that you can just change your styles to whatever you want them to be. Okay. Again, if you have any questions at any time, just feel free to type them in the chat panel. And if I have time to get to it, we'll get to it during the presentation. They can drop me, or we can just we can talk about them afterwards. Okay. All right. So when a section view is not a section view, so what am I playing at with the word game there? Okay. So let's go ahead and look at a real life example here. So I've got my pond sheet right here. Okay. So and actually, let's go to my finished pond sheet. So this is my stormwater management facility. Okay, and here's my completed pond. All right, so this is the actual sheet. I go to print preview here. We should be able to kind of look at it, what it would look like when you plot it. All right, and as you can see here, I've got a nice point table for the contractor to know where the points, where the bottom pond is. I also have this section, right, section AA. Okay, and if you look here, here's section AA. Now, most companies will kind of have their own kind of standard detail, and they have to go in and edit it afterwards. What's the season high water table, what's my bottom pond, what's my permanent pool, what's my top of pond. Where's my invert elevation? Where's my riprap? Where's my, you know, invert, my side drain? Yada, 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 all that good stuff, right? Well, guess what? This right here, this section AA is actually a real section. This is truly my pond. This is really my pond. This is really a label that is labeling the actual elevation. So if my pond changes or because of my design changes or whatever, this will update automatically. That's an actual top of pond elevation. So is this emergency overflow weir? And that might be most of it because it's just labeling stuff. But actually, I think it's a profile view label. And this is an actual dimension that's measuring the actual dimensions. And so this is actually a label. I'm sorry, this is actually a view. But how did I do that? Is this a section view? And the answer is no. So when I say when a section view is not a section view, it's actually, there's a way to trick this. And if you use Civil 3D, you can probably see where I'm going with this. This is simply an alignment and a profile view. That's all this is. All right, just with a little bit of messing around, it's not difficult to do at all. So all that I did here, if we look, is this right here is my alignment. Okay, as you can see here, it's an alignment. It's an alignment called Pond 1. And so this alignment is crossing through where I want this to actually be, right, my actual pond. So in the PDPL RDO1 file, I actually do have a pond, right? So I got my prospector tab here. And we'll go to the sites and Pond 1 and go to my grading, and I'll go ahead and just select that. It's probably turned off. Actually, let's see. Do I have it turned off? Let's just go to the object view real quick here and see. And it isn't. So you can see there's my pond. This is a real pond, obviously, right, based upon my design criteria, right? 10-foot berm, sloping down, got my daylight, all that good stuff. And basically, all that I do is I cut a profile view, right? So this is a profile view. Here's my section AA. And what I do is I just give it the title, the name of the alignment, I think it's the name of the alignment or whatever. And so if I go ahead and select this, this is a profile view. And this right here is actually my surface profile. It's a surface profile of the pond. Now, yes, this one here is a spline to make it look pretty. I just made a spline, okay? But this right here is what? This is my existing ground. And then this, I believe, is a multi-liter. Oh, no, it's not. That's right. Yeah, this actually is a profile view elevation label, okay? And I basically just kind of copied this around. And so what I was able to do was, this is actually reading an elevation. So if I move this around, what's it doing? So I put this spline at the seasonal high water table, and basically this label just labels that. This right here is my bottom of pond, and of course this bottom of pond is an actual Civil 3D label. So if I change this around, what happens to the label? It updates automatically wherever I snap, okay? Same thing with this invert elevation. And of course this structure is what? A Type C DBI. So that actually is in there as well. Now this here actually is kind of a cool, this is unnecessary, but I just felt like doing it. So obviously for the control structure, or for the orifice, basically, we have a T that comes in, right? At least that's how I do it in the county that we had this project. This is a Suwannee River Water Management District. And basically what they've done here is, here's a pipe, here's an actual pipe, and this is actually a T, PVC T pipe. Now, so this is actually, if I look here, a profile view projected. So this is the actual projected view. Now, did I need to do this? No, I literally could have just drawn a T, right? Because obviously there'll be a drill hole, there'll be a cap here. They can pull it up if they have to clean it out. So what did I actually do? So this right here, again, this is a little bit overboard, but I actually went online and found PVC pipe and found all kinds of 3D models. And what I did was I basically just put it, remember, you were in Civil 3D. Everything is in 3D. So what did I do? I just found a T model or a PVC model and kind of extruded it, just did a little bit of 3D modeling. And this actually is really a T. And I just kind of scaled it up. And yeah, I didn't need to do it, but I just wanted to, was just messing around. It didn't take me long. I basically was able to kind of snap right here. So this pipe is actually a pipe. It's an actual pipe in there. And this right here is I just grabbed the center of it and snapped to the center of that. And I had this configuration of stuff. And I just messed around with the Scale 3D tool to make it scale to the size that I want it to be. There's my orifice. It actually is, believe it or not, at the actual scale that it's supposed to be. Again, a little overboard, but then what you do is, this is a true 3D model, right? Let me just kind of move this out of the way temporarily here, just so we can see it here. So it's actually right here. So all I do is I select, actually, you don't select it here. What you do is you go to the profile, you go to the home tab here, profile view, project objects to profile view. All right. And then what you do is you pick your 3D models. These are just AutoCAD 3D models. And then you project them to the profile view. And they pop in automatically at the right size and vertical exaggeration. That's the cool thing here. This is actually vertically exaggerated, and they actually get exaggerated. If I change the models, this updates automatically. Again, is it a little overboard? You bet. But it's kind of just fun to do, and it didn't take me that long. Okay. Again, the great thing about this, and believe it or not, so this pond actually went through 2 design iterations. So the great thing was I just changed my grading model, and then I simply moved the labels to where they needed to go, and everything updated automatically. Again, that's the benefit. Yes, I could have just had a 2D sketch. Some companies do that, and that's fine. You have like a block with attributes where you change the elevations here, 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 and here, right? But again, you can also just make a profile view and make an alignment, and you're good to go. Okay. All right, FDOT Sub Assemblies and modeling. So what I want to just kind of touch on, I'll give you about 20 minutes left here, but I just want to touch on just some of the things that the real use aspects of the DOT Sub Assemblies. They're really, I have to say, the guys in Tallahassee. In fact, literally this week, 2 days ago, I noticed a little bit of not a bug, but just a little bit of an issue with the shoulder sub assemblies. So let me actually first point that out here. So first off, this is a rural job, so it's basically turning a dirt road to a paved road, okay? And what we have here is, I'm using the FDOT lane sub assembly. It's kind of straightforward, okay? But then we have the FDOT shoulder sub assembly, which has many different abilities. And let me back up here. So let me show you how to kind of access these. If you're not familiar, if you install the DOT State Kit, which you have to do, what you'll see here is in your tool palettes, you should be somewhat familiar with how to get the sub assemblies in the tool palettes here, okay? But what the DOT installs when you install the State Kit is you'll get their sub-assemblies, and they have their own palette group called FDOT Sub Assemblies. And if you kind of go through the different, categories here, different palettes, you will find all the different sub-assemblies unique to doing DOT projects, right? So here's the FDOT lane, here's the FDOT shoulder, and in many cases, these are better than Civil 3D out of the box. In other cases, I just use Civil 3D out of the box because, there's really no advantage. But in most cases, they will be actually very useful. So one of the things about if you're familiar with doing any kind of, projects, using the DOT standards, especially in super elevation, this is, I think, 500, if I remember correctly. Where are we here? Here we go. Actually, I'll just do it super. I'm still getting used to the design standards. I'm sure as you all are, plan standards. Super elevation, there it is, 510. Okay, so if we look at the high-speed roadways here, if you're familiar with this at all, basically, when it comes to shoulder slopes, you got to do something a little bit unique here. So if I zoom in here, basically what you're going to see is, when you get to 5%, you get your 7% difference, right? But then when you get to 6%, what happens is it maintains that 2%. Because it just kind of helps your slope, so you don't have too much of an issue, obviously, right here, as well as it helps you tie down a little bit nicer, a little bit less right away that you might be taking, or if you're within the right of way. So it stays at, it goes from 4 to 5 to 6 to 7% difference right here. But of course, it's rounding, right? But then of course it gets to 7 here. But of course, if you, this point to this point is your 7% difference, right? So to model this using regular Civil 3D sub-assemblies is fairly impossible. It's not impossible. I've done it, but it's a pain in the butt. So about 2 years ago, I emailed the DOT and said, hey, you guys give us these great sub-assemblies, but can we have it so that it does this? And they were really nice enough to add that in there. But this week, I literally noticed, I must have just didn't notice in my first job that I did this, when it exceeds 9%, between 9 and 10, you would expect it to build into 3%, right? So at 9.1, it should be 2.9, and so on and so forth. You get the idea, right? So you get that 7% difference all the way up to 10%. What was happening was their logic said, if you're below 10, leave it at 2. And so basically, I just received it today. They fixed it. They're going to enter the next version. Now it'll actually do this functionality for you and transition between 9 and 10%. But I just wanted to kind of give you some background. I'll show you this working in a second here, okay? But again, if you look here, you have all the different standard out of the box, that you would expect to be able to do for the DOT standards, okay? And the driver ones are really very nice and good as well. They do some really good modeling. And if you look on their YouTube channel, they have some really good YouTube videos of how to actually do that. Okay, so just wanted to show that first. Now, what's great about this functionality is you don't have to, when you do your super calcs, you just enter your super elevation exactly like you'd expect it to. Now, my alignment is data referenced in, but I can still select it here. And if I go to my super elevation tabular editor, you'll see it's grayed out, but you can still see my super is in here, right? So I've got super elevation in here. Okay, so if I go to, I believe this curve here is full super. Let's see, it's 9.6. Okay, so as you can see here, what you should be able to do is you should still be able to enter the 2.4, right? So 2.4, the difference between the two, you just enter the basic ones that you want to do, and it will, it just does it automatically. In fact, actually, I take that back. It's actually ignoring the 2.4, but you can still enter your super elevation like you normally would. But what's great about it is, all right, let me just kind of show this to you, is that when you go to, let me go into this file here. This is the second phase of this project here. When you go into that area where it exceeds the 6%, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and pick over here. I believe this curve is 80% or the super is 80% on the curve. So we should be good to go here if I pick here. Let's go to section editor. Yeah, here we go. Actually, perfect. So here we're at the reverse crown, right? Let me close out of this real quickly here to get that out of the way. And as I go through the section editor, let me kind of go, I'll zoom this top one into top view here so we can kind of see this going. All right. So as we progress into it, of course, the super is going just fine. And then as it starts to exceed or get to the 6%, it automatically will use that 2%. And that's just really fantastic. They just added that, again, it's been a couple years since they've had that. And then, of course, as it gets into the 9.6 or 10%, it'll jump to 3%. So this happens automatically. You do not have to even think about it. It just does it for you. And, oh, great. So I just got the DLL that fixed that, and it looks like they have kind of resolved it. That's perfect. Okay. So they actually have resolved it. So that I think that's wrong. 9.6 should be 2. Yeah. But anyways. I'll just mention that to them. Actually, no, that is right. That's 7% difference. I take that back. That's 7% difference. So that actually works just great. So again, you can see that this kind of functionality, you can't get that with Civil 3 out of the box. The DOT Sub Assemblies are just really useful, and this makes life a lot easier to kind of work with them. Okay. Again, use your tool palettes to find them, and then you just add them to your assemblies as you need to. Okay. All right. Let's talk about modeling near a pond. All right. I'm probably going to run out of time here, but I hope I don't. But let's just go through this real quickly here. So I want to be in this file here. So let's look at this project, what I've got. Let me actually show you the finished model here so you can get an idea or what I'm actually talking about. I mean, obviously you guys can imagine what I'm actually, if you've done any kind of engineering, let me actually bring I have a finished ground surface here, and this is a completed model, and everything is literally modeled to exactly what it's supposed to do. But what I have is one scenario where I've got some detention areas. It's not a true model. We're just building some detention areas for water quality. And what I wanted to do was so that my surface and my corridor model tie in exactly where they're supposed to. So let me just kind of zoom in here so you can see what I'm talking about. Right. So here's my corridor model coming through. Ignore that. It looks like I have to fix something with the profile through there. But if you look at my shoulder here, my shoulder in this case, because it's not a very steep pond, but even if it was, it wouldn't matter. We can just put fencing. This ties directly into the corridor model, right? And I want this to tie in. Of course, basically the goal is I want this to tie in to the top of pond. So whatever it takes for this subassembly after the shoulder, this four slope, I want that to tie in top pond. And that's all I need. I just want it to tie into top of pond. The pond in my cross-section view will take care of the rest as well as my model view, right? So that's what I want to happen here. So how do you achieve that? Okay. So let's go ahead and look at that. So in fact, let me show you the finished product so you can kind of see exactly what I'm talking about. So in my corridor model, this right here is actually a section view. This is a surface section. I didn't draw this. This is not drawn by hand at all. And if we look, my corridor model ties directly into this area right here, directly into it. So how do I do that? All right, so what you do, actually, I may have did I do this correctly here? There's my surface. Actually, let's just verify this here. Let me go ahead and let me see what subassembly this is, because I think I may have actually I don't want to spend the time, because if I rebuild the core, it's going to take a while. But let me just show you the trick, okay? Because it's really simple, right? So if I look at what I'm targeting here, okay, just for these two regions through here. So this is my pond area. So I do have a separate typical section, but I actually don't need to do this. This is my top of pond, 148.5. All right, so what I basically do is let me go ahead and find that corridor model, or that assembly. So 148.5. So I'll go ahead and go to my assemblies here, and I want to go to that subassembly. And that's not it right here. There it is right there. All right, so this is a really simple and straightforward subassembly. It's got the lanes, it's got my shoulders, and then the subassembly that you use is one called link slope to elevation. And all you have to do basically is, and I'll just show you this where this is in your tool palette. I'm gonna go ahead and change my tool palette category to just civil imperial subassemblies. And in the generic subassemblies, this is what you have, link slope to elevation. So what's the purpose of this subassembly? This subassembly, what it does is it says, okay, target an elevation at a specific slope. So no matter what it takes to get to that elevation, lock in the slope. So if I go ahead and select this subassembly, I want this to go down at 4 to 1, 25%, and find the elevation 148.5. And that's my top of pond, obviously. So what that does is it basically just finds that elevation no matter what. And all the way along the corridor, it finds that elevation as it models. So what you then do, and basically that's what's happening. So I won't, like I said, I have to rebuild it for it to actually, because I think I may have typed in 147. That's where you're seeing a little bit of a difference. But in theory, this should literally be tying to this right here. Here's my top of pond right there. That's where 147 goes. You can see here what's even greater is I'm actually widening through here. So what I've done is I did a horizontal target for my lane to come to this offset alignment. That's what I have here. And then this will automatically find that elevation where 147 or 148.5 should be. Then what I do, because what I need to do is I need to actually get that to my pond file so I can actually, use it as the top of pond. All you do is you simply select the corridor model, and I'll just pick it right here. And then you do feature lines from corridor. All right. Again, I'm getting low on time here, so I'll just mention it. And then what you do, you extract that feature line, and then you copy the clipboard, and then you bring it into your pond file. Basically you go to clipboard right here, paste to original coordinates. And then what that does is that puts it into your top of pond right here. And here's that actual line, right? So here's the actual feature line of the top of pond in that widening area, and then I build my pond for the rest of the area off of that so that I can basically know that's where that top of pond needs to be from the corridor model. And that's how you basically get it so that it ties directly into your corridor model, okay, with the surface. And as you can see here, like I said, in the cross sections, I am not doing anything. It comes right in at the same exact location, and there's my surface, and I don't have to do anything. Right, that's just labeling the bottom of the pond. Okay, but the same thing on the right side here. So I've got the same thing happening here. Actually, that one's off it's off now because of basically I have to just rebuild the corridor. That would then just pop it up over here. But you get the idea. All right, that's how you can automate all that. So that it basically you don't have to. You're not drawing your pond in there. It's actually the model. And the main purpose of that too. I mean, you might be thinking, well, why do I want to? So why do I spend all the time? The main purpose of doing that. When you're doing cut and fill volumes, right? One of the things you have to do is get earthworks. So this is the true model of what they're actually going to be built out there. I'm really getting true values for my cut and fill volumes. Okay. All right. So that's basically modeling near a pond. All right. So the last thing I want to discuss here in the last 5-10 minutes is is the FDOT quantities, because I really love this functionality, okay? And we didn't really have the full-blown functionality like they have in MicroStation, but now you do. Now you really do. And the DOT kind of developed a pretty good workflow to automate this. And let me just show you basically kind of the final product here. You know, so what I have here, I have a, you know, what you would do is just like in MicroStation, you go to create file here. And your first step is to basically create a quantity file, right? So let's find roadway here. And then you create a QTSRD1 file, right? So if I sort that by name, and where are you? Right there. So you would basically make a quantity computation shape calculation file, right? That's what you do. I already have one. Obviously, I'm in it right now. I'm in the QTSRD1 file right now, okay? And the way that you do it in AutoCAD is you leverage the layout functionality to have each quantity in there. So here's my sediment barrier. Here's my soil entrance device. Here's my clearing and grubbing. Notice I have all the basic stuff here, okay? So you just create layouts, and then you use viewport freezing to automate all of the, you know, what you want to see in each of the different viewports that you create. You know, here's my stabilization. Now, yes, you are manually creating layouts, right? You can just, the way I do it is I just copy the one from before and just give it the pay item number and then give it the name. It just helps it for later on, for, you know, for checking, right? So for QC type, for type stuff. Just go quick zoom previous here, okay? All right. And so that's, as you can see, I've got all the different shapes for stabilization and for other things that I'm doing here, all right? So how do you use the FDOT quantities? So in the FDOT ribbon tab here, I'm going to go ahead and actually set this to center there for a second here. All right, so in the FDOT ribbon tab, you have this thing here called, if you've never seen it before, it's called Entity Manager. This is the equivalent of DNC Manager in MicroStation, okay, or in OpenRoads, although that's gone now. Basically, it's going to be, they're going to a whole new workflow in OpenRoads Connect, and it's going to be completely different. In fact, from what I've heard from the DOT, Bentley still has not really fully developed their quantity system. So they're working with Bentley to try and say, okay, you need to kind of get this to work a little better, okay? And then what you have is you'll basically get a palette. Now, just like DNC Manager, where you have the DNC Manager file, you have a pay item database.xml file. That will then bring up this Entity Manager, which basically shows you, as you can see here, and it's categorized, it has all of the DOT quantities that you need based upon the BOE, okay? And so, of course, they added some really nice functionality here where you could actually search. So if I want to do a search for sediment barrier, this is the actual wording. So sediment, right? And if I click here, you notice how it pops up. And now I have those here, okay? Now what's great about this, I'll just go ahead and add the quantity. So again, I always say when it comes to interface, when in doubt, right click. So if you right click on anything here, you can actually place polyline with X data, and you'll notice immediately what's happening. It goes on the right layer, and everything is exactly what you wanted to see, okay? Now, what's also nice is if you hover over any Entity Manager pay item, it actually applies it and puts this hidden data that actually shows you the actual length. You can kind of see how things are kind of working here, all right? And of course, the other thing too is that you want to make sure you do, I didn't do this, but you want to make sure that your alignment is properly set because it associates the pay item to the alignment, okay? If you didn't do it correctly, not a big deal. You simply select the pay item, right-click, edit pay item, and you get this dialog box. Notice how it's not US 90. This is actually a road called Woodstock Industrial Boulevard. I'll hit apply and then close. And now that pay item is associated to, or just changed over to that alignment. So you would just basically go through the same process, and I'm not going to go through great detail because guess what? The DOT has a book on this already. Just go to their website, and you can find under publications how to do quantities, and it goes through the step-by-step process of actually doing it. And that way, when you're done, this is literally what you get. So if I go to my summary quantity sheets, these are here they are, right? So here's my summary quantity sheets, and this is all AutoCAD. This looks just like a MicroStation job, and we have literally every possibility of doing this, okay? And one thing I do want to show you, let me just get rid of this help here. When you're doing a summary of quantity files, the way that you do it is, in fact, I will go ahead and open up that file so we can kind of see it here. We'll change here. go here. We'll go to this job and HCAD roadway. And there's my summary file. So just some little hiccups, not hiccups, but just things that I learned when I created this file here. The first thing you want to do, because you have to put tables in model space, is you want to do that, but you want to have a nice little area of the actual area that it needs to be. I kind of made this little grid, very simple, and I snapped these are AutoCAD tables, but these tables are linked to Excel spreadsheets, okay? As you can see here, this actually is coming from those spreadsheets. And of course, just like in the DOT, workspace, let me go ahead and open this file location. And these are all going to be stored in, if you've ever done DOT work, they're in the calculations folder. And so here are all my summary patterns, right? And these are all basically the tables or the Excel spreadsheets that are linked here, okay? And again, like I said, we made this little grid. It kind of helps out quite a bit because there's a little bit of an issue with AutoCAD tables that you kind of have to mess around with a little bit. And maybe in my next tips and tricks, I'm running out of time here, I'll show you kind of what to do. But basically, you have to kind of mess around with the columns in Excel to make them kind of actually, that's right. I just realized that the tip is really pretty straightforward. All you do is you simply select this here. And if I remember correctly, you simply just click on this right here, and you just go straight up like that. And that fixes, because what you get is you get like this location will pop up in the middle of this cell. It looks kind of strange. Just simply select that, pull it straight up, and all your cells, your tables will come right in. And this looks just like it does in MicroStation. So you don't need Link Data Manager because you have it as part of AutoCAD, right? This is just AutoCAD functionality that we're doing right here. But the way that you get your tables, I was going to show that before the end of the webinar here, is in the FDOT ribbon tab, you go to Takeoff Manager, and you navigate to, well, just so you know, I'm in the wrong drawing. So you want to make sure that you're actually in the QTSRDO1 file, okay? And this is what you do. Within the model, okay, within the layout, within the layout, I say model because in MicroStation they're called models, but within the layout here, I go into this paper space and I'm only showing the layers for this quantity. And then I just say, current drawing. I set the alignments for what I want this to be here. And then you go to the summary tables and you pick the actual, it's actually it's this tab. I was in the wrong tab. Summary tables right there. You pick the table you want, hit create summary tables. You will have to browse. It'll pick that XLS file, that is the template one, and it basically builds those quantities for you, and it puts them in the Excel spreadsheet that look just like you would expect it to look like so. Okay. So again, quantities can be, and yes, does it take a little bit of time, just like it does in MicroStation? It's the same amount of time now. So it took us about, I think it took me about 2 or 3 days to do all those quantities. It's about a 1 mile job. Wasn't that huge of a deal. But now it's all automated as far as that goes. And that's I think that's it for the tips and tricks. Does anybody have any questions?
Hi, thank you, Seth, for a great presentation. I think it was so great that I don't see any questions online. Come on, guys,
Okay.
Do you have any questions? This is the time to take advantage of it. All right, in the meantime that they think about questions, thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Seth, for a great presentation. Let us know if you are interested in any general or more in-depth training, or if you have any questions that you didn't think of today. We'd be more than happy to get back to you about it. Just email us at the information that you always know, all that will appear on the screen, info@ddscat.com, or you can always call us at 305-445-6480. I want you to also keep tuned for upcoming webinars. So be on the look. We probably will have it for the new year, but we will have more webinars coming your way. Anybody with questions? No, Seth, you did a great job. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning today. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.